Welcome back to the Agency Navigators podcast. I'm Ro.
I'm Don.
And we are grateful and happy to be starting our newest season of sharing our insights and intelligence when it comes to independent insurance agencies.
Absolutely.
So today, where we're going is to introduce, he is one of our newest team members, but now he's been with us for a while, Adam Bushey from Connecticut. Adam, it is nice to have you on the podcast finally.
It's really nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We didn't give you a choice, did we?
No, that's okay. I'm happy to be here regardless.
So today, what we really want to do a dive in is on the agency's most valuable asset. While we've been on hiatus from having a podcast, we have not stopped at AgencyCFO.
We've been busy developing and then developing some more. So we have lots of things that we've produced.
It has been a couple of years of really intense, deep work, which is why we have Adam. And Adam, I know I came up with it and Don helped me, but you are our Business Intelligence Analyst / advisor, correct?
That's it. That's me.
So in this world, your main focus is our book of business, correct?
Yes. Very important.
And it really, where we're going to go today, it is the most valuable asset of an agency is to have a really clean, really well-executed book of business, would you say?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're there saying, well, I think my most valuable asset is my team. We get that one a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
but if, really when you think about an agency's valuation, everything is really dependent upon your book of business. That is the value, the intangible asset, but it's a real asset.
Yeah, absolutely. So where we're going to start, and that's why we have Adam on this episode, is to really dive into the overview of the book of business plus the work we've done with our partner agencies about it. So first and foremost, this is for both of you. What is a book of business and an agency management system? I know the two of you live there a lot. Go.
I'll take this one because this is surprisingly a source of great confusion with many owners and management teams. When we talk about a book of business, you're in your agency management system. It is the conglomeration of policies. It's what we call the policy stream. So who's the client? What's the coverage? What's the effective date of the policy? What's the expiration date? What's the annual premium? What's the annual commission? Who's the producer? Who's the CSR? It is the policy record. And there's a lot of confusion because say, well, book of business, well, isn't that the same as, well, if I run a income statement, my revenue, isn't that my book of business? Or can I run a production report? Isn't that my book of business? Not really. So today we're talking about the data source that we are referring to is the list of all policies, and that policy data constitutes your book of business.
So Adam, in your work over the last year, how are the different agency management systems?
Well, there's a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences. Just the way you get the information out of the system a lot of times can be different. Never mind all of the way that they actually house the different data in the background. So it can sure be fun. That's it's an adventure.
Absolutely. So this one's for Don. We know there's different management systems. What is one of your more challenging ones when it comes to the book of business?
The challenge essentially is the same for every platform, and that is data integrity. Yeah. For most agencies don't rely upon their book of business reporting because data integrity often isn't as good as we would like it. And if it's so easy through either download or manual entry, the data can be off. And I'll give you a quick example. Somebody forgets to type the decimal point. Instead of having $1,000 policy, all of a sudden we have $100,000 policy. We see a few of those.
Look at Adam's face. Yeah, absolutely.
We sure do.
And yet it's come at a time that, again, the book of business is our asset. And in the book of business moves independently from the financials. And there's some real key value points to having a good, clean, and usable book of business far beyond your other financial information.
All right, so let's go a little linear with this. Your CSRs, account managers, producers, whoever it is, enters the client data in the agency management system. Boom, a record's created, and that feeds into the book of business because it's all of the records put together.
Mhm.
And now, how you said it isn't the financial, but yet they're tied together.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, they're totally different record sources. The accounting, your income statement is derived off of the general ledger, and the data that goes into your general ledger is absolutely totally different, 1000%, from the data that's going into building your policy records. Now, essentially, they should be similar. If you have $1 million book of business, you should expect about $1 million of earned revenue. So there are similarities, and that causes confusion, but the data sources are absolutely totally separate and distinct.
And that's why this is so complex and challenging managing it, because you're literally managing every input field.
Absolutely.
And every input field needs to be identical.
Absolutely.
So, Adam, as you've gotten into this over the last year, what are some of your examples? Do you have anything that comes off the top of your mind as one of the most challenging moments?
Oh, sure. Just a lot of times you'll see things where a policy will expire and they'll change, the policy type, let's say. Their carrier had added a new designation. So trying to track some of those changes where, the policy number looks the same, but you'll have some data elements that are not the same. So sometimes it looks a little bit different. But again, to Dawn's point, even when you're typing in, somebody's name, you could type it in one way and then type it in a completely different way. And those two records then don't match up anymore because they look like two separate, unique records.
And so, anything to add to that?
No, I think this has been the hesitation of so many agencies. They're just not comfortable. And yet, it is, we're telling you today, it is one of the most valuable things you can do at your agency, is if you're suffering from data integrity issues, is to get it cleaned up. We'll talk about there's real value
to cleaning it.
Absolutely.
And what we did is this has been a huge learning process for all of us at Agency CFO going through this, because Don identified, it was a few years ago, he said the book of business, this is a big issue in the partner agencies we have. That's why we developed a job description, searched and searched and searched for Adam, and how this is all played out, the complexity, the challenging environment behind all of that. And what we came to realize is internally, we started calling it data chaos. Our agencies were in a state of data chaos. Anything you want to add to that? Because it really is as harsh as it sounds. It really is.
It is. And the book of business has been one of the most frustrating pieces for agencies for a long time now. And again, this is not a new concept. And yet, look at in this day and age where we're talking about big data and AI, most agencies don't have a clean book of business.
And for both of you, this is it's more of a statement than a question. Agree or disagree? How many of our agency owner partners, people who work with us, people who don't, that we've talked to, they get so, I won't say flustered, but frustrated, confused, and just overwhelmed by the data chaos that they kind of ignore it, because if they can't find a solution, it's easier to ignore it. Agree or disagree?
I would totally agree. Personally, I mean, Don and I, the other day, we went on it was over an hour search we went through to try to find where there was a broken data element in there. And it took us a couple of different ways of twisting and turning and looking at things from different perspectives to finally see what that broken piece was. So, if you're running an agency, you have all your staff, you have a million other things on your mind. Trying to spend the few hours to actually find that where that leak is, it can be so tough.
And that's Adam, really well said, because you two are experts in this. Like you, and it took you that long. And I was listening to it the whole time it was going on because I was here.
But the moral of the story is, why bother?
Yeah.
Well, because if we don't have an understanding of the book of business, it's a tremendous blind spot.
Mm-hmm.
And there are all sorts of surprises, and CFOs don't want there to be financial surprises. You can get caught off guard if you're not aware of what is happening within your book of business. It's a really dangerous situation to be in.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be clear that it's not only how big your book of business is, it's what constitutes your book of business. And I like to say it is, think if you're going to the grocery store and you're buying a package of cookies.
You love cookies.
Oh, we love cookies. Does it matter what the ingredients are? Well, it may or may not.
If you're gluten-free, if
maybe
you're sugar-free.
Maybe you have a peanut allergy.
Peanut allergy, yeah.
Now, does it matter what the ingredients are? Certainly.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about books of business at agency, it's a $2 million book of business. Yes. But what constitutes, not all $2 million books of business are the equivalent. It matters. And it's important as agency owners and leadership teams that you know what constitutes your book of business and how is it changing? Are we getting more good business that we want? Are we losing bad business, good business, mix? There's so many dynamics that go on, and we're just kind of generally unaware.
So we've introduced Adam. We've talked about the most valuable asset being the book of business. We've talked that we've been hidden away, working diligently. That is our Agency CFO Intelligence Suite. There is an incredible array of Power BI dashboards that Don and Adam have innovated, worked on, together with myself, Kayla, Shauna, our CFOs. We have come together as a team and devoted many, 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 many hours to getting this right. For example, and this is the one that when we uncovered it kind of sent some ripples through some of our partner agencies, because most of our dashboards have been rolled out to our partner agencies. And the one over the past few years, what has been the key theme in the market?
The hard market.
Hard market, hard market, hard market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in our agency management systems, in our software packages, it's a bit of a gray area trying to figure out the actual impact of it. What are those numbers? Well, I can say I've seen those numbers, because with the dashboards and what's been created in the Agency CFO Intelligence Suite, we can now prove the hard market.
Absolutely.
I'll let the two of you take it from there.
One of the things that we see time after time when we pull an agency's data, they may be growing, their revenue may be growing 10, 12%. And then we look at customer and policy count, and the customer count is dropping. The policy count is dropping.
And you would think this would be so intuitive, but you can't get this out of an agency management system.
And all of a sudden,
we can visually show it.
Well, and we get the question, well, how can that be? And the answer is hard markets driving up your premium, driving up the commission value, but underneath the surface, your customers are leaving you. You got a slow drain of customers, and the policies are actually declining.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, Adam, I'm going to use your word because this is one you taught me, slicers. Tell me what a slicer is, Adam.
Oh, slicers are great. So when you have your overall visualization that you're taking a look at, it's really nice to have a chart, but a lot of times you want to drill down into the data that's underneath it. So The slicer is essentially that. It's just a way of filtering the data. And when you stack multiple slicers on top of each other, and you get a multivariate look, and you get to really look at your data, that's where real bang for your buck is.
So how we have used the slicers, and I've been on live calls doing this, it's like, well, maybe we want to see commercial lines, a specific producer, and maybe even a specific account manager if they're assigned. What is the impact? How is their rate? What's the revenue? What's their policy count? What's their client count? Adam and Don have built these slicers that our agency partners, our owner partners, can go in and just pick and choose, and it becomes a very visual representation. We've actually seen some of our agency partners pull that information and share it back to their team.
And essentially, it gives you the flexibility to almost look at your book of business in infinite number of combination, a different number of ways, and to do so in mere seconds. Things that would have taken you days or weeks of data analysis
You
now
just click those slicers.
are done in seconds.
Yeah.
And that's the power. Yeah. And that brings a whole new level of understanding to what we've probably not been really in tune to or aware of. There's things going on in your book that you just never knew.
You have no idea. So the idea is we saw a gap in the market. Don saw it originally that you knew the book of business. As a CFO, you know your numbers, but you knew the book of business was really a huge issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Part of the process we go through is to actually help, and I'll kick this back to Adam a little bit, that little score on the top of your visualized dashboards, that half circle.
The data integrity score, it's very important because, as Don had mentioned earlier, data integrity is paramount. You can look at all of the charts and graphs you want all day, but if it's only based off of 10% accuracy because your data is unclean, what are you really looking at the end of the day?
You're done. So it comes down to, we get the data, we study the data, we make sure the data is clean. Adam and Don work their magic getting this visualized, customized, because how many different custom versions based on agency partners, the nuances, every agency is the same but different. And then it gets produced monthly now for our agency partners. And is it safe to say there's nowhere in the industry that they can get this data with that click of the button?
Not quite as easily. And they'll leave you with, as the book of business goes, wherever the book of business goes, your financials will follow.
You call it the leading indicator.
It is. It's one of those. That's the beauty of it. If you know what direction your book of business, if the revenue is increasing, all right, then eventually that revenue is going to show up in your income statement, and vice versa. So it's a leading indicator. So one of the key value points of understanding your book of business is where it's going, your financials will follow.
All right. You heard it from the OG CFO himself. Adam, anything to add? Our innovator, you're deep into the numbers. You're working with the partner agencies. What would you like to add?
My main thing is just data doesn't lie. Data always tells the numbers. It always tells the truth for you. And it's unbiased, which is awesome. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we are so happy we got you on the podcast, Adam. You will definitely hear and see him many times in the future. He comes to events with us. It has been very exciting, very, very challenging at Agency CFO. We know we're going into uncharted territory. It is never easy. It has had its challenges along the way. But to offer this software as a service program for the industry, we knew it's where we had to be. So on that, thank you so much. Please listen on all of your preferred podcast platforms. Check us out. Subscribe to our Agency CFO YouTube page and just follow us. Connect with us. We are here to help.
Absolutely. And I always like to say, be financially well.
Take care. Bye-bye.